A very good morning to all the dignitaries. Chairperson Dr. Kumar Talukdar, Principal, Nagaon Polytechnic, Nagaon. Chief Guest Colonel B. Venkat, Director, Faculty Development Cell, AICTE. Keynote Speaker, Professor Dhiraj Bora, Vice Chancellor, ASSAM Science and Technology University. Guests of Honor, Dr. Ranjan Sarmah, Vice President, ISTE, New Delhi. Professor Uday Shankar Dixit, IIT Guwahati, and Margdarshak, Nagaon Polytechnic. Program Coordinator, Mr. Ramen Kumar Bharali, Lecturer, Selection Grade, Mechanical Engineering Department. Distinguished participants from different states of the country, as well as Kulendra Chandra Bora, HOD, Electrical Engineering Department, Mr. Ranju Mahanta, HOD IC, Civil Engineering Department, Mr. Minal Prasad Nath, HOD IC, Mechanical Engineering Department, Mr. SHK Azad, HOD IC, Computer Engineering Department, along with members of all the committees, and of course the invitees, the competent, recognized, and authoritative speakers of this program. I, Dr. Arhna Saikia Bora, on behalf of Nagaon Polytechnic, Nagaon, would like to extend a warm and hearty welcome to you all to the inaugural session of this online induction refresher program on outcome-based pedagogical principles for teaching learning in engineering education for Phase 2, sponsored by AICTE New Delhi and ISTE New Delhi and organized by Nagaon Polytechnic, Nagaon. The 6 days program features the eminent speakers Professor Rubila Kaur, Professor and Head of Education and Management Department, NITGTR Kolkata. Mr. Jeremy Frieshand, Ohio, USA, Managing Director at Studio Bagru, Rajasthan, India. Dr. Habiba Hussain, Associate Professor, Education and Management, NITGTR Kolkata. Dr. Sharad K. Pradhan, Associate Professor, NITGTR Bhopal. Dr. K. Rajnikant, former Principal, Ramaya Institute of Technology, Bengaluru. Swami Sudhanandji Yogoda Satsanga Society of India. Professor Dilip Bharat, Dean, Faculty of Arts, MK Bhavnagar University. Dr. Hitesh Tahvildar, Principal, Nalbari Polytechnic, Nalbari, Assam. Professor Sunil Pandey, School of Engineering, JNU, New Delhi. Professor Dev Kumar Chakravarti, Director, Central Institute of Technology and Mechanical Engineering Department, IIT Guwahati. Professor Anup K. Das, Professor, Mechanical Engineering Department, IIT Guwahati. And Professor Ratnajit Bhattacharjee, Electronics and Engineering Department, IIT Guwahati. On attending the lectures of these speakers of high repute, I am confident that each of the participants would take home cognitive accomplishment and would be highly benefited in their comprehension of OBE and in their pursuit of NBA accreditation. So, to start with the inaugural session, I would like to offer a floral welcome to all the guests on behalf of our organization. I request you all to accept a digital floral bouquet, an Ahomia Horai, a Japi and a Gamusa offered by us. We would also like to once again extend a heartfelt welcome to our valued participants. It is very encouraging to announce that we have candidates from 16 different states. 29 candidates from Assam, 21 from Maharashtra, 15 from Tamil Nadu, 8 from West Bengal, 6 from Karnataka, 5 from Odisha, 4 from Andaman and Nicobar Islands, 3 from Andhra Pradesh, 2 from Sikkim, 2 from Bihar, 2 from Pondicherry, and 1 each from Kerala, Nagaland, Dadar Nagar and Haveli, Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh.
Of this induction/professor program organized by Nowgong Polytechnic, which is sponsored by AICTE and ISTE. The topic of this induction program is outcome-based pedagogical principles for teaching learning in engineering. So all of our aware that outcome-based education is a student-centric teaching and learning methodology in which the course delivery and assessment are planned to achieve stated objectives and outcomes. It focuses on measuring student performance, that is outcome at different levels. So OBE empowers students to take more responsibility for their own learning and support the move to better student engagement with curriculum and to the student-centric approaches. At present, outcome-based education system is being widely used by learning institutions across the world. It has proven to be a success in helping institutions to measure their learning outcome, at the same time enabling students to develop new skills and prepare them to stand out with their outcome-based education institutions to acquire accreditation from esteemed accreditation bodies such as National Board of Accreditation by improving continuously in the long run. All of us are aware that the accreditation of the course done by the technical institute made mandatory by AICTE, but for getting the accreditation, we have laid down by NBA, and we have to prepare our self-assessment report and submit it to the NBA. Most of us are conversant with the traditional education system, which is highly dependent on the So preparation of SAR is really a tough job. So without proper training and guidance from competent persons, it is very difficult to accomplish the work of. So from the formulation vision to the preparation of course outcome, program outcome, and their maybe each chapter require a lot of understanding. So we Nagaon Polytechnic also faced a lot of problem in preparation of the SAR. In the month of April 2019, a regional workshop of Polytechnic for the Northeast region was organized by NITAR Kolkata at Guwahati. In that workshop, a discussion regarding the progress made by different institutes towards NBA accreditation was discussed. Most of the principals or their representatives expressed their problems in the preparation of SAR or the respective institutes. In the said workshop, the Kumar represented AICTE and agreed to provide financial assistance to the institute for conducting this type of program from AICTE and ISTE. So spot of application from interstate institute was sought, and Nagaon Polytechnic also actually applied for the same. So we are very lucky enough that we have been selected to conduct this course. So on this auspicious occasion, I would like to thank AICTE and ISTE for selecting Nagaon Polytechnic for this purpose. Initially, the program was supposed to be an offline one, but due to the COVID pandemic, we have to opt for online one in 3 phases. We have already completed the first phase successfully. This is our second phase. We've got participants from different states of India, and we are very thankful to them for their response. So eminent personalities from different reputed institutes of India have accepted our request to deliver lecture on different topics related to outcome-based education. We are very thankful to them and express our gratitude to them. I hope participants will learn a lot about different aspects of outcome-based education, which will help them towards preparation of SAR for their respective institute. I once again heartily welcome all of you to this program. With this word, I conclude my welcome speech. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your speech. Next, I would like to request Mr. Ramen Kumar Bharali, coordinator of this program, to offer his speech.
Okay, first let me check whether I am audible or not.
Yes, Mr. Bharali, we can hear you clearly. You are audible.
Okay, thank you. Welcome to this induction refresher program on outcome-based pedagogical principles for teaching learning in engineering education, sponsored by All India Council for Technical Education and Indian Society for Technical Education, and organized by Nagaon Polytechnic. Respected Chairperson Dr. D.K. Talukdar, Honorable Chief Guest Colonel B. Venkat Sir, Director, Faculty Development, All India Council for Technical Education, New Delhi, Honorable Keynote Speaker Professor Dr. Dhiraj Bora Sir, Vice Chancellor, ASSAM Science and Technology University, ASSAM, and Guest of Honor Dr. Bhaba Ranjan Sarmah, Vice President, Indian Society for Technical Education, and Professor Uday Shankar Dixit Sir from IIT Guwahati, and as well as Margdarshak of Nagaon Polytechnic, Nagaon, and distinguished participants from different engineering institutes of the country. A very good morning to one and all. We at Nagaon Polytechnic feel privileged for having this opportunity to conduct a program for creating awareness among the faculty members and administrators, and to develop the skills needed for implementing the outcome-based education. And this is phase 2 of series of 3 programs. We have successfully conducted phase 1 in the month of January this year. And as it has been stated that this program was applied as an offline program, but as we know, changes may come as a result of crisis, as a result of choice, or just by chance. So this online mode of program is a result of COVID crisis. But it seems to be a boon to Nagaon Polytechnic because it became possible for us to invite the eminent research persons and participants from any part of the country. On the other hand, the outcome-based education is a choice and is the need of the hour to ensure our growth. Such program is essential to reskill and upskill individuals in unprecedented numbers. The new education policy 2020 talks about introducing vocational courses in secondary schools in a phased manner over the next decade. NEP also talks about setting up skill labs in collaboration with polytechnics and local industries. The policy notes that one of the central principles steering the education system will be extensive use of technology in teaching and learning, removing language barriers, increasing access as well as education planning and also management. So the role of engineering institutes will be vital, and faculty members and administrators are going to face many challenges and will have to cope with the changing scenario. India is a country with young and enterprising minds, with innovations and business ideas, as mentioned by Dr. P.K. Desai sir, also President of ISTE, in his speech as a guest of honor in the inaugural session of our first session of the program. Their enthusiasm needs the right patience and supports. On the other hand, India is one of the fastest growing startup ecosystem in the world. The young minds need to be nurtured in the educational institutes and particularly by the technical institutes. Assam is coming up as a major center of Atmanirbhar Bharat, says Prime Minister Modi in his address in the 18th convocation of Tezpur University, Assam. He said that today's young India has a distinctive way of taking on challenges. The spirit of Atmanirbhar Bharat is in sync with the mode of today's young minds. I think outcome-based education is in sync with new education policies also. So OBE is mandatory that addresses key areas arising out of accreditation by NBA and paradigm shift proposed by NEP 2020. Being the coordinator of this program, I took the freedom of targeting some aspects of these emerging areas and invited many experts from different parts of the country who have the expertise and experiences of guiding, training, implementing OBE in many institutes. And in this process, I also invited one young entrepreneur from Ohio, USA, who is now working in Rajasthan as one of our experts who is very passionate about knowledge sharing and protecting and promoting traditional knowledge. I have invited, please mute yourself, someone's background noise is coming. I have also invited Deputy Commissioner of Nagaon as one of our guests of honor in the validation session. Outcome-based education existed in ancient Indian Gurukul education system. William Spady, the father of OBE, has mentioned many OBE systems that exist in the society. Assembly election is due in Assam. The training processes of presiding officers and many other officers is an exceptionally good and solid example of outcome-based education. We all know if there is any mistake in one of the polling stations, say because of non-performing presiding officers, or so, just imagine what the media will do.
Analysis of rate.
Excuse me, Mr. Bharali. Mr. Chetri, Mr. Safal Chetri. Mr. Safal Chetri, would you please switch off your...
I have muted them. Okay. So I was talking about Deputy Commissioner. The Deputy Commissioner of a district successfully conducts such OBE system year in and year out. I think it is not so far that the media will also ask the educational institutes and even the faculty members if there is any wrong performance by the passed out students, because society is one of the stakeholders of any educational institutes and media acts as watchdog to protect public interest. The point I want to make is that teaching is going to be one of the most challenging jobs. For example, the Future of Jobs report 2020 of World Economic Forum says that the employers need top skills from the graduates, such as critical thinking and analysis, as well as problem solving and skills in self-management, like active learning, resilience, stress tolerance, and flexibility. And this is also true for teaching professions. So to make a long story short, OBE is bringing out a cultural and attitudinal changes in the education system. So if we take care of OBE, the NBA accreditation is a natural corollary, as said by Professor A.D. Sahasrabuddhe sir, Chairman of All India Council for Technical Education, in his inaugural speech as chief guest of our first phase of the program. So in this backdrop, I cordially request all delegates to keep aside all the reservations against OBE and to take the position that OBE is the best education system as of now. And I hope the participants will be highly benefited by inducting and refreshing themselves with the eminent research persons during this 1 week program. So with these few words, I am going to conclude my speech and request all honorable guests and delegates to wish for the success of the program. Our organizing team is dedicated to make this program fruitful for all of us. If you have any query and suggestions, please feel free to contact any members of the organizing committee anytime during the program. We try every possible course of action to make this event a grand success. But at the end of the day, Karmenyo Vadikaramαστε Mahafali Sukadasana. So I humbly request everybody to be part of the program and the solution also. So thank you and namaskar.
Madam, you are muted.
Madam, you are muted.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Yes, yes, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Bharali, for your insightful and explicatory speech. Now, we have amongst us Professor Dhiraj Bora, Vice Chancellor, ASSAM Science and Technology University, who is the keynote speaker of this inaugural session. I would like to request you, sir, to address the audience. Sir.
Good morning to all of you. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, sir, we can hear you. You are audible, sir.
Thank you very much. So, respected Chief Guest, Colonel B. Venkat, who is the Director of Faculty Development of AICTE. We have guests of honor, Dr. Bhaba Ranjan Sarmah and Professor U.S. Dixit ji, who is also the Margdarshak of Nagaon Polytechnic, Chairman of the Inaugural Session, Dr. D.K. Talukdar, Principal of Nagaon Polytechnic, host Mr. Ramen Kumar Bharali, whom we just heard with some very good comments, patrons, distinguished speakers during the week-long online program on outcome-based pedagogical principles for teaching, learning in engineering education. This is the phase 2 of this program, and it is sponsored by AICTE and ISTE. And Nagaon Polytechnic is hosting it. Dear participants, faculty, students, ladies and gentlemen, it is actually an honor for me that I am invited to this program and participate in this session of an important program of the technical education of our state. I didn't have the chance to attend the phase 1 program. Therefore, some of the things which I will talk now may be a repetition of somebody else who talked earlier or is going to talk now. So kindly bear with me. I will try to tell some things which formulated the ideas, which are the underlying thoughts for an educational principle, which is basically outcome-based education, which we are talking of. The move we made to outcome-based education has been one of the most important trends in our professional education in the recent times. And outcome is actually nothing but a culminating demonstration of learning. So it is what the student should be able to do at the end of a course. Outcome-based education is basically an approach to education in which decisions about the curriculum are driven by basically the exit learning outcomes. So we know the outcomes based on which we form the curriculum. And the students should basically what they should display at the end of the course is what is form. That means that in outcome-based education, the product defines the process. So we can sum up the outcome-based education as a result-oriented thinking, and it is the opposite actually of input-based education, where we emphasize on the educational process and where we are happy to accept actually whatever is the result. Now there is a significant difference between the outcome-based education and simply producing outcomes for an existing curriculum. Outcome-based does not mean curriculum-based outcome and you top it up with some other issues. It is actually a transformational way of doing business in education. During the development of this output-based, outcome-based education, we need to have clarity of focus. It has expanded many opportunities and we have high expectations. I would say these are the main cornerstones of this reform. It has been argued by many of the experts that it is actually inappropriate to fix the time for study and expect variable learning results from the students. What is needed is a uniform minimum standard that all students would be expected to achieve and that all would be given the time needed to achieve. So a fixed level of performance is to be achieved by students by changing the relationship between time and learning. So then the learning then becomes fixed, what we need to learn, and the time to achieve the learning becomes a variable. So I would say these are the ideas which became the underlying educational principles of outcome-based education. Now this exit learning outcomes for technical professionals, we can represent it by a number of ways. We can identify the abilities expected of a technical graduate. Many of them were told now by Mr. Bharali. For example, we need to develop effective communication, basic understanding of the subject. What we learn is a must. Using basic sciences in the practice of technology. This is extremely important. We should be able to diagnose and manage. So management is also important. And finally, what we learn, it doesn't end by achieving or receiving a degree, but it becomes a lifelong learning. And that would ultimately bring us to the so-called self-awareness. We start doing self-care and we talk of personal growth. At the same time, by developing technology, we talk of social and community-based development. We talk of moral reasoning and ethics, which is extremely important, especially in terms of the technologies which are coming up now. And of course, above all these things, we must have the ability to solve problems. So problem solving appears to be one of the most important yardstick of having a output-based or skill-oriented education. Now, all these abilities, what we just enumerated just now, we can actually layer them. We have a so-called representation in a circular form or in a layer form. We talk of the main layer, which basically talks of the task which we want to do. Now, that is basically what the engineer talks of, that is doing the right thing. Now, if we talk of only just delivering something, then we are not very different than somebody who is merely a technician. So what we need is another layer of education which basically talks of doing the thing in the right way. Therefore, we need to emphasize the necessity for knowing not only what to do, but why and how to do. So that is basically a layer on top of the main task, which is there underlying at the bottom. Finally, we have a top layer where we talk of the personal attributes and professionalism of the technologies, whichever technology we are developing. So that is basically the right person for the right job. So these are some very essential things we need to talk of when we talk of a output-based education system. It has many advantages. One of the advantages, prime advantage, I would say, is basically the relevance of the whole system. Basically, the OBE promotes a fitness of practice and education for capability. So these three layers basically ensures that areas that have been underrepresented in our normal traditional curriculum, such as the attitude, appropriate attitude for a job or a professionalism, this is given the proper emphasis in which is required for developing the system which is skill-oriented, and we talk of delivering outcome at the end of a technical curriculum. Of course, we have the acceptability which we should be able to have, which is the education must seem acceptable to most professional teachers, and it should have an intuitive appeal. If we look at carefully the OBE, actually it is an explicit statement of clarity, which is a explicit statement of what the educational process aims to achieve. It clarifies the curriculum for both the student as well as the teacher, and it gives you it provides a focus for teaching as well as learning. So this it basically gives a framework which provides a robust framework integration of the curriculum. It also gives an accountability by providing an explicit statement of what the curriculum is setting out to achieve. Outcome-based education emphasizes accountability, which I already told. The outcomes provide details against which the graduates of the curriculum can be measured and facilitate the quality assurance process at the same time. Now, self-directed learning is very important, and if the students are clear about what they are trying to achieve, they can take more responsibility for their own learning. So outcome-based education therefore promotes a student-centered approach to learning and teaching. Of course, it has flexibility. It doesn't specify educational strategies or teaching methods. But what is important is that students achieve the outcomes and not how they get there. That is not important. But what is important is that we do have an outcome which was to be achieved, and it is achieved. Innovation in teaching is possible, and also it is encouraged by this approach, and actually different styles also can be accommodated for teaching in this kind of a OBE. Now, OBE guides us for assessment also, which you will be probably during this 1 week. You'll be learning many of these aspects of OBE. How do we basically quantify these kind of attributes? Now, contribution to the curriculum planning is extremely important, and that is basically the course outcomes. It leads to the identification of individual lesson outcomes. So you can therefore phase your program. You can have different modules for the outcomes, and this can basically gives you a coherence and a very good cohesion in the student learning process. I'm sorry. The outcome-based education actually provides a benchmark against which the curriculum also can be judged. At the end, I would say the outcome provides, finally, once we achieve the outcome, it gives a pathway along which the individual can progress. And in basic, slowly, gradually, from basic, a person can grow through undergraduation, post-graduation, and continue lifelong education. However, there are many experts who do not agree with many of these things, and they try to point out the disadvantages of a outcome-based education. They argue that you impose constraints. Now they view this system, that implementation of this system basically gives you an approach which gives a constraint to the children during education. These experts, they feel that the education should be open-ended and the child should basically be able to develop as a result of this kind of open education. Now, this is seen as a disadvantage, which could be true for, I would say, pre-university courses, education, but it is definitely an advantage that you impose constraints and it is an advantage for especially professional education, which focuses attention on fitness to practice. Basically, we focus and then to give the delivery of the output product what we intend to. Similarly, there is another disadvantage people talk of. They say that inclusion of and emphasis on attitudes and values is inappropriate. Now, inclusion of attitudes, values, and professionalism, this I would say is definitely an advantage for professional education, especially when people are actually regularly criticizing us, the technical products, as giving a poor performance, a lack of professionalism, etc., etc. So I think it is very, very advantageous that we do emphasize on attitudes and values for the professional courses. Similarly, people talk of that this kind of educational system basically inhibits the learning by discovery. Now, which is probably not really true. It could be, this is something which is probably more appropriate when we talk of liberal notion of education. It is more appropriate for when we talk of arts, humanities, etc. Especially in professional curricula, the graduate must be fit to practice, and the emphasis on outcomes basically promotes it. Curriculum planning is also facilitated by having a fixed approach of Outcomes provide the framework for efficient curriculum planning in the top-down approach, which is basically described in this outcome-based education policies. Now, as we already heard from our what Mr. Bharali was telling, that our new education policy actually heavily stresses on the outcome-based education. The education of the country should deliver basically a outcome-based education right from primary level. Therefore, our government realized it and introduced the NEP 2020, which is the national education policy, which replaced our national policy of education of 1986 and 1992. And especially for the higher education, it is of great concern that we deliver systems which gives us skilled products as an output of this education system. Because we know that we have signed the Washington Agreement in 2014, and therefore we need to have our technical professionals at a level where we can compete with the international peers, what we talk of. And when we look into our system, we see that few areas are there where we must work upon during these years to come, so that we can pull ourselves up at a level where people talk of OBE. We should be able to have a supply of students so that we can satisfy the requirements. Therefore, we need to have well-qualified students. We need to have them in greater number. Therefore, we are talking of greater enrollment ratios, etc. And for bringing out quality product as a human resource product, that is students, we need to have staff who should be able to teach them the right way. Therefore, we are talking of qualification and competency in a very, very serious way when we talk of faculties. Now, we teach, very often we do not realize what is it that we are teaching or what is it that we are gaining at the end of the whole course. Therefore, the teaching process need to be well controlled and transparent. And automatically then the assessment becomes outcome based, and the courses could be updated as and when required. And to do all this, we need sufficient facilities, which we need to develop the infrastructure, what we have in our educational institutes. Now, all the building blocks and these issues, what we have been discussing in these last half an hour, probably will be, I'm sure, elaborated by our esteemed faculties who will be teaching you in the next 1 week. Now, without taking more time, I see Professor Dixit getting a little agitated because he has to leave by 11 o'clock. I wish all of you a very, very strong interactive course duration during this 1 week time. I'm sure this would help us develop the pedagogy for effective implementation of OBE in our technical education. On the long run, this would help us better for our quality teaching and learning. So with this, I wish you once again all the very best for the next 1 week. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your insightful and valuable speech. We are indeed grateful to you for making time despite your busy schedule to be a part of this occasion. Thank you, sir. Next, we have Professor U.S. Dixit of the Mechanical Engineering Department, IIT Guwahati. He is also the Margdarshak of Nagaon Polytechnic. We are so grateful and happy to have you as a guest of honor for this occasion. Sir, I would like to request you kindly to present your speech.
Okay. Respected Colonel B. Venkat, Director of Faculty Development of AICTE, and who is the Chief Guest of this function, Dr. D.K. Talukdar, who is the Principal of Nowgong Polytechnic and my personal friend, and we keep meeting always. Then Professor Dhiraj Bora, whom you just listened, he has given very insightful speech. In fact, after his speech, there is not much for me to speak, but still, I share some things. Then Dr. Ranjan Sarmah, who is also the guest of honor and Vice President of ISTE, Dr. Bharali, Dr. Sakia, and dear participants. Now, this is basically the second edition of the program. Instead of calling it a phase, I would say that it is like a second edition. Suppose one good book is there, the next edition comes, some chapters are deleted, some are added. So it is of that kind that, many things, some new speakers are included in this second edition, and some speeches of the previous program are not there, but that way they have organized. In the beginning, our organizers of Nowgong Polytechnic, they were very nervous, when this program was offered by ISSTE and AICTE. But after that, they talked to me and they said, in fact, Dr. Bharali, so many times he phoned and always he was telling that we are doing for the first time, we are doing for the first time. So I said, no problem, everything comes for the first time. But now I am seeing that their confidence level has increased. So after the first program, in the first program, I think around less than 50 participants were there. In the second program, 2 days back, Dr. Bharali sent me the list, and in that there are 102 participants. And I had to say, in fact, no, see, you don't include many participants. Why you are after this thing? And he was, no, he said some participants may drop or something like that. But I said, no, because I am always against this policy of just going by the number game. I think that we should have optimum. Optimization is the mool mantra for each and everything. So this is also not good that we should have more number of participants. If we have less number of participants, but they should listen and then we can interact them, that is more important rather than having this one just more than 100 participants or something. So I said, if AICTE itself has given you this one mandate, that they said that participants can be up to 100, then why you are trying to go beyond 100? Okay, they are, you have prescribed minimum and maximum limit very wisely. But what I want to say here, this point, that you see the level of improvement from first program to second program, that the number have swelled almost twice and representation each from all over the country. This itself shows that these people have a lot of potential, only we need to provide them a lot of support, because they have successfully organized. But when I visited their institute, I saw that some of the buildings are really in very bad shape. So for that purpose also I request that because all the dignitaries are from very resourceful institutes, so they can do something to them also. And I have also suggested that they can take the support from industry, they can support from other sources. In future, they can play a lot of role in, for example, vocational education of new education policy, national education policy, because it is written that higher education institutes, they also have to incorporate vocational education, and it is mentioned that they can take the help of even polytechnics and ITIs and this one. Because so I just will make 1, 2, 3 quick points. That first I would say that I think this mindset should also go that diploma level education, this is ITI and this is higher is diploma and this is degree. In fact, all of them are complementary. We feel that there is this one different skills they have got, and degree education people, degree teachers, they have to impart different type of skills. I do very simple example that I have been attending this online program since the COVID crisis, so many of them of IITs and other institutes. But that I have seen that the way they have organized even the inaugural function by putting first Gamsa online, then putting even the lighting up the lamp, everything, that shows your creativity. Small things should be encouraged. This type of thing, because in engineering, IITians generally don't think in that time. They don't have the sense of aesthetics. They will say, okay, I have done this, okay, sine square theta, cos square theta, this is equal to this, finish. So they are always into that type of thing. And these people, they are more artistic. So if I need really a person who should be skilled, who should be this one, then same thing degree cannot. There is one in Hindi, there is that doha of this one Rahim Das. He said that Rahiman dekhi baen ko laghu na dije dal, jaha kam aave sui kaha kare talwar. That do not throw that needle is as important as the sword. So it's not that sword can do anything. So we are associated with in ASTU. I am also the old member of ASTU, IIT. They have different mandate, and diploma institutes, they have different mandate. I think everybody will work, then only we can progress. So one quickly I say 1 or 2 points that here since Professor Bora's talk was in fact very intellectual and very pertinent, and he has presented many aspects. But I will say in a very practical way that outcome-based so that everybody can understand. Of course, I enjoyed the talk of Professor Bora, but for other participants who are new to this one, in a simple way, it's like this, that outcome-based education is student-centric. Like, for example, practically, teacher thinks that, okay, this is in the syllabus, so I must cover that much syllabus. But that here, what happens that they say that this is, here it is depending on the level of student you teach. It is not necessary that you cover the syllabus 100%. You see that need of the students is like that, and from which they can get job. Recently, one private college person said that my students are not getting job. What is the problem? What should I do? I said, yes, one student of yours, he came to me and I applied him with me, giving some, that money. And what he used to do that, I said that, okay, please make one PPT for me. He said, I don't know how to make proper PPT. So the question is that he cannot draw figures, he cannot make proper PPT, but he knows the second law of thermodynamics and this one. So this is not the outcome-based education, means he should have that type of skill. So these are the problems that we are teaching. In fact, same thing in the recent past, lot of engineering colleges have opened, and in that proportion, skill-oriented professionals are less in number. So with these, so there are many other things which our experts will speak. And now, since we have to listen to other honorable even chief guest also, time is up to 11. So I conclude my speech here itself and wish all the best for this program. Okay.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable words. We are always encouraged and inspired by your guidance. Thank you, sir. Next, I would like to welcome another guest of honor, Dr. Ranjan Sharma. Dr. Sharma is the Vice President, ISTE in New Delhi. Sir, I would like to request you kindly to present your speech.
Thank you, Dr. Bora. Our respected Professor Dhiraj Bora sir, Vice Chancellor of Assam Science and Technology University, Professor U.S. Dixit, our Chief Guest, Colonel P. Venkat, my friend Dr. D. Talukdar, Principal Nagaon Polytechnic, Ramen Bharali, and all the organizing team. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to be a part of this one. I shall be very short because I shall keep it short. I know about the time. Just like Professor U.S. Dixit has rightfully mentioned, I am very much happy about the way you have presented this program, which is Horai, Gamusha, Japi, and floral bouquet in a digital way, in a nice way, and followed by the digital lighting of lamp. It shows your inculcation about the small measures you have to take about this whole program, how you can organize this digital program so nicely. You see, the last program I attended at the end, and I know that that was very much successful one. Now, how we define this success? The success of a program is not the way only how we organize it, but by the way the participants feel about it. If the participants are benefited, if they feel that it is a very good one, then only this is successful. And I have heard from many participants that is a very nice one. And I participated in one or two lectures, and I found it very useful. You see that pedagogy, as an engineer, as an engineering teacher, we generally do not have much expertise in this pedagogical field. When I joined in long back 1989 as a lecturer, I did not heard about anything about the Bloom's taxonomy or what is pedagogy, nothing, or micro teaching. Then I went for an induction program in NIT year, where I first came across the terms of micro teaching, and it was really helpful to me. you know that this process of recruiting teachers and all over, mainly the government institutes, there may be certain flaws because we generally go for the good marks, the good grades in the teaching and the qualification. And this might not be at par with the teaching quality. The teaching, how you express yourself, how you communicate with the learners is very, very important. In this outcome-based education, well, the focus is on the ultimate point of Bloom's taxonomy, which is Bloom's taxonomy is knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and an evaluation, and which is again modified in the remember, understanding, apply, analyze, evaluation, and finally create or produce. So in this engineering field, we go up to the apply limit. We should go for the creation, that is generation, the production, and the student will be able to produce something when he is competent one. Competency is not only just learning the things which remains only in the cognitive factor. There are three differences: the affective domain and the sensory or psychomotor domain. These will be discussed by the experts in this whole program. Only thing is that when we go for this outcome-based education, the holistic thing we should not forget. The holistic things means the value and the ethics and professionalism, all these things should be a part of the education. Unless a student becomes properly ethical and value-based person, he will not prove to be a resource for the nation. So just I want to mention one thing, that one surgeon, he operated, one orthopedic surgeon operated on my mother's hand. That surgeon was concerned only about the welfare or the how to make the operation successful by fixing the hand. But he did not bother about the holistic person, the whole person as a whole. After the completion of the operation, he said that he is successful. Hand was all right, but she has lost so many blood that she was very much unstable. Heart condition deteriorated. And he said that we cannot accept it. You will have to admit her as a new patient. Now that is not education. That is not, when you do certain thing, one part, you should be concerned about the holistic effect of your application, your knowledge. That not only the person, when you go for the construction of a bridge or a building or a machine or anything, a part of a machine, a small part, if there is a mistake in that part, it may prove a disaster like the Kalpana Chawla. A small, maybe 99.99% was correct. Maybe 0.01% was wrong. So we should go for an education where there is no scope for error, a zero error. And I hope this kind of courses, the refresher courses, will always motivate us and enable us to become a competent teacher, and thereby we'll be able to give our best to the students and thereby enriching the country. Thank you very much. Thank you all. And all wish you all the best.
Please unmute you. Dr. Aradhana. You are muted.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable words. We are indeed encouraged and inspired by your kind presence. Thank you so much, sir. We are honored to have amongst us Colonel V. Venkat as the chief guest of the inaugural session. Colonel Venkat is the Director of the Faculty Development Cell, AICTE, New Delhi. We are indeed deeply appreciative of your esteemed presence. I would now like to invite you to address the audition. Welcome, sir. Maybe sir is not aware that.
He has to unmute, I think. Maybe he's there, but yeah.
He may
Colonel
be.
Venkat, yeah, please unmute.
Sir, please unmute yourself.
Yes, yeah, that's right, yes.
Welcome, sir.
Ma'am, I'm Colonel Venkat.
Yes.
Is it being referred to me, ma'am?
Yes, sir, you are audible. Please continue with your speech, sir. Sir, can you hear us, sir?
It's wonderful to see an activity of this nature against the backdrop of what has happened in the last 10 odd months, wherein the complete activity which was supposed to be done in face-to-face mode got converted into online. You know, having said that, the complete compliments and complete regards for an activity to be done goes to the institute, the management and the faculty members. In fact, I would rather give much more compliments to the faculty members to have risen up to the occasion for doing in these kind of programs. Trust me and believe me, in last year, April, May, when we were proposing for these activities to be done in an online format, there was a lot of apprehension. But there was the confidence which we got from the faculty members across India that the way they could have done it made us to convert our complete activities in online. And having done that, the wonders of it started coming right from June onwards. And by the time we have come today, the month of February next year, it is an activity which is so brilliantly executed by the institutes, the staff and the faculty, that when we look at the national education policy, the national education policy does mention online. There's a proper and a subject on online, and it says in the coming times the online teaching and learning to be the norm, not necessarily the percentage is not specified. It is as and when we give a larger autonomy to the higher education institutes, the liberty to choose between an online, face-to-face and blended will be left to that particular higher education institute. That is exactly the implementable activity of a national education policy. Number two, very important point which comes in the national education policy happens to be imparting teaching and learning to the teachers. When teaching and learning is being imparted to the teachers, the national education policy says academically there is absolutely no doubt that our teachers and faculty members are world class. However, pedagogical skills needs to be improved upon. So to that effect, every year 50 hours of teaching to be imparted to the teachers. Now, when I have said these two things, I specifically mentioned these two things, keeping in mind the present ongoing faculty development program being done by your institute. It was with a singular purpose that you have actually speaking already achieved what is desired. Number one, extensive utilization of online platforms. Number two, by the same online platform, you are imparting teaching and learning to the various faculty members. It is brilliant. It is wonderful to see this kind of activity taking place. And quite obviously, no one is in any doubt here that the targets set or aimed at will surely be achieved in the times to come. That is of the national education policy. It can only be achieved with 100% cooperation and support from your side. Ma'am and ladies, gentlemen, I also wish to compliment your institute. It's so very nice, and I'm honored that you people felt that I could be on this platform to speak. I'm from AICTE, and let me assure you, each and everyone at AICTE is looking forward only for one thing, and that is how best we can contribute to the overall growth of the technical education, basically the higher technical education. Please let us know if there is anything that you desire that we should be doing. Please let us know if you have any recommendations, suggestions pertaining to this specific capsule course of 1 week which you're doing, or anything else which you feel can be recommended or suggested for implementation, because we are in the process of drafting the implementable activities towards national education policy. Most of the activities have already commenced. More other activities are in the draft stage. Let us know if there is anything which we can take it from your experience, primarily because you people are the academic brilliance which is spread across India. So please do let us know how best we can utilize your recommendations and suggestions also. A word of small advice to the various participants who are there. All the participants, ladies and gentlemen, please appreciate and understand the institute and the management and the staff. The coordinator has done an extremely laborious hard work, wherein they have come finally to a stage wherein this kind of activity is being presented in front of you. Please understand the activity which has gone behind. One should appreciate that activity which has gone. It is not easy, you know, at AICTE I'm just releasing the fund. How to utilize, how to make sure that after utilization, you people are actually ensuring what was targeted and achieved. So if this much activity is going behind from an institute to ensure that they are carrying out only for your purpose, for you to understand the latest subject, latest and revolutionary activities which are happening in a subject by bringing in the best resource persons available on that field to you. The least anyone can do, including us at AICTE, I don't exclude myself from this. The least we can do is that we can at least attend the programs and make them proud at the end of 6-day program by saying, sir, whatever I have learned, number one, it was brilliant. Number two, I will surely be using it in my day-to-day teaching and learning practice. I think that is all is something which is looked forward by a resource persons and a coordinator. Wonderful. It's good to see, ma'am. It's good to be on your platform. And with my sincerest regards and best compliments to everybody. Please continue the good work done. Wishing all the best, ma'am, and thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, sir, for your invaluable words, as well as for agreeing to be a part of this occasion. Your kind presence, as well as your words, have been heartening and inspiring to all of us at Nagaon Polytechnic, and we are expecting help from you and your organization in the near future. Thank you so much, sir.
Ma'am, thanks a lot. And it's incorrect and bad manners. I forgot to compliment you. Aradhna ma'am, you're wonderful in comparing, you're wonderful in introducing, and what a way that you have conducted the program. I always say one thing and I feel one thing. In cricket, like when we say the opening batsman sets the tone for the day, and rest everybody, including us, are the followers. So you are the opening batsman, ma'am, for this particular program, and how beautifully you have scheduled it and conducted it, ma'am. Best regards and compliments, ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir. You are really encouraging us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
As we are almost at the end of this session, I would now like to invite Mr. Ranju Mohanto, HOD, IC Civil Engineering Department, to offer the vote of thanks. Please, sir.
Yes, madam. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. We can hear you clearly.
At the outset, I would like to offer my heartfelt gratitude to Colonel B. Venkat, Director of Faculty Development, AICTE, for his kind presence as the chief guest of this program. Next, my sincere thanks goes to Professor Dhiraj Bora, Vice Chancellor, ASSAM Science and Technology University, for being the keynote speaker of our inaugural session. Thereafter, I would like to thank our guest of honor, Dr. Ranjan Sarmah, Vice President, ISTE. Thank you, sir, for your presence. Next, I would like to offer my gratitude to our Margdarshak, Professor U.S. Dixit of Mechanical Engineering, IIT Guwahati. Thank to Chairperson D.K. Talukdar, Principal Nagaon Polytechnic, for his welcome address of these sessions. I would like to take privilege to offer my sincere gratitude to all of our speakers who have spent their valuable time with us for sharing with some of the key academic features of technical education. Hope all the participants of this meeting are inspired from the words shared by our eminent speakers. Last but not the least, I thank all the people of our institute who made this event successful. And finally, I have deep appreciation to the participants from different parts of our nations without which this program will not be successful. We thank you for being with us. It has remained a pronounced speaker. Have a great day ahead. Thank you. Over to Sir.
Thank you so much, sir, for the vote of thanks. We are now almost coming to we have come to the end of this session. So thank you once again, everyone, for your kind participation. And participants, please stay put. The speaker for the next session has already joined. So within a minute or two, we are going to start the next session. Thank you, everybody.